Welcome back to another episode of Life of the Lost. I am Megan.
And I am Sam.
And if you are new here, this is our podcast. I think we just kind of talk about ourselves.
Yep.
Talk about our week. We are two Peruvian adoptees living in New York City.
West side of Manhattan.
Yes. Let's talk about our highs and lows for the week.
Highs and lows. Lows is this weekend was supposed to be a pretty fun weekend for Maya. We had Maya this weekend, and the lows was that we ended up having to take her to the emergency room on Friday morning because she was having a terrible migraine, and I think we ended up figuring out she might have had the flu. Although the flu test was negative, we didn't know that before we took her, so that was probably big low. A big high, I'd say, was maybe just spending a little time having a little dinner with my mom. My mom visited and brought Maya some stuff to help her with her cold, like ginger ale and some mac and cheese that she was craving. And we got to spend a little time with her, and that was nice. So very, could have been better, but definitely happy that Maya's okay and not having serious medical issues or anything. And yeah, that other than that, I think that's my highs and lows.
Yeah, that's definitely a low for me too. It was pretty scary. And the high would be, Oreo, relax. He's mad because we took a toy away from him, but he's making so much noise. The high would be that today is officially day 8 of waking up at 4 a.m. And I didn't think I'd be able to do it on the weekends because people sleep in on the weekends. I always say that that's my rest day, my rest days. And so I thought it would be a lot harder, but it was actually really nice. It was very quiet, except Maya's been up every day around like 5, 6 with a fever. So that's been a bit of a bummer, but yeah, she's feeling better. So while we're on the subject of like ER visits, I wanted to just talk a little bit about Maya's too really quick. It was actually really scary. I thought it was going to be a neurological thing because we didn't just bring her into the emergency room because we thought she was sick or had a virus or the flu. I mean, she's been sick plenty of times. We've been sick plenty of times before, and it's been fine. And I think the scary part was that she was complaining and crying and really, really upset about her eyes and her head hurting. And I don't think she's ever had, she's maybe had a headache before, but this was just intense. She couldn't bear any kind of light. She was very weak. You had to carry her down the stairs outside to the hospital. I wasn't sure if we needed to call the ambulance or like maybe just me panicking.
Yeah. No, like that's kind of what I was saying a little bit later on the day after when we were trying to give Maya her medicine. I had given her the wrong dose. I gave her the children's dose and not the dose that she should have had, and her fever kept going, stabilizing, and kept going a little bit up, and I realized that, and we all realized that, and so we were a little like nervous, like but she was feeling very nauseous, and I was really trying hard not to panic in that situation, and
and I was panicking.
Yeah, so like because like when you panic, you make very brash decisions, and so I was trying and make the most calculated, logical decision in the moment in a very like panic, because I was really feeling the pressure too of trying to not make a hasty decision. But that was kind of like that night and that morning when we woke up, I came in and she had a really bad headache, and I was thinking like, maybe we should give her some headache medicine. And you're like, no, I don't think so, because you were giving me very, very, ultimately I'm really happy and I'm really thankful that we went. Also, the questions that you were posing in my head were like I was half asleep, mind you, but I was really trying hard to like assess the situation, and you're making very logical points. And I was like, all right, let's just go. And so we ended up going, which is, I'm really happy that we did, because then we could just, I'm always an advocate for the benefit of the doubt. Like I'd rather go and it be nothing than not go and it ended up, God forbid, being something. So.
Yeah. I just wanted somebody to look at her and just tell me that it's nothing neurological, because I really thought that it was going to be something I didn't know. I mean, you Google up these symptoms of like severe eye pain, severe head pain. It was at the side of her head and the top of her head, and everything from like having a stroke to make sure they're not going to have a seizure just started really freaking me out. And I think that I've never dealt with anything like head trauma, and we didn't have her the week before, so I was also a little nervous. Like, did she fall? Did she hit her head? Is this like from something else? And I was like, I don't want to wait another 2 hours to possibly get a doctor's appointment, and then for them to say, I don't know, maybe you should go to the emergency room, because that has happened plenty of times to us where we've gone into urgent care and they're like, okay, I think you need to go to the emergency room, and then you've just sat there and wasted half the day just trying to get into urgent care.
Like me.
Yeah, like you.
My silly predicaments in the emergency room.
Which this year you've gone twice.
Yeah. Some stupid shit.
And the first time was for what?
The first time was for my foot. I think I had like some stress fractured my foot. I'd been complaining about it prior to going to the emergency room. I'd been running back to back those days, and I think that day I had run and I had went to the gym and worked on my calves, and I think I put a little bit too much extra strain on my foot, and it just to the point where it was really hard to like walk. And I got home and I was just I had talked to you prior about how my foot felt, and that day was like, it was just pretty bad, and I was like, maybe I should go to the emergency room because it feels kind of funny. And so
when you got home, you told me that your foot was going numb.
It was.
And that's what I was like, wait, it's going numb?
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that's really, really bad. Like, we need to go to the doctor, like right now. We need to go to urgent care at least. Because trying to convince you to go to urgent care is like, oh my God.
Yeah, but we ended up going, we did go to urgent care.
Because it got worse.
Yeah, and they said that they couldn't feel a pulse in my foot, and that she said that things like this, it could be a matter of time that potentially something worse could happen. So she advised me to just go straight to the emergency room, which we ended up going across town. And she printed out the papers, and we ended up going, and we got into a wheelchair, and they asked me what's going on, and I told them. I gave them the piece of paper. We had waited there for a little bit, and they took us through these screen doors, and we made a left, and we were the last one on that mini emergency room section. And then from there we waited like an hour and a half, and then a doctor came in and tried to feel my pulse and put like the heart telescope thing on it, and couldn't feel it and needed a second opinion. And then that doctor kind of couldn't feel anything, and then they brought in a specialist of like circulation or blood flow or something, and they brought in that telescope thing that was trying to listen for.
It was kind of like a stethoscope, but it was pulse. It was a machine, like this weird square machine, and she was trying to find a pulse. And yeah, I think she was maybe the third or fourth person who was sitting there trying to figure it out or trying to find it. So it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and I was really scared because they said that they couldn't feel a pulse and that I might need to go into immediate surgery to, I don't know, reestablish.
They thought it might have been a blood clot.
Yeah, to reestablish like blood flow to my leg. And I was like completely in shock, and this nurse was coming over, telling me to put an IV in, and I was like, really, I do not like needles. And I was telling this, I think it was her, do we really need this? I don't know. Can we just wait a few minutes? I really would like to just figure it out. And I was actually like really like questioning why she needed to put that IV in, the one that like stays in you, like for like surgeries or long stays in the hospital. And so I don't need to re-stick you. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I'll take my chances if they need to re-stick me. I ended up spending the whole day there, only to find out that everything was fine.
Yeah, they said he just has bad circulation.
Really?
Yeah, you just have not that good circulation. Because your feet are always cold. I think they were questioning too, because your feet were so much colder than your hands and the rest of your body. And that was kind of a thing too. But it was very interesting. And then When he finally came back from the CAT
No,
scan.
I had an X-ray,
Was it
and
an
they
X-ray?
decided that there were 8 people in front of me from like a serious issue, and that I could wait like 5 hours, or I could just go home because everything looks okay. I was like, after like being there for like literally like 10 hours,
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to go home.
It was nighttime
Yeah.
when we
And
got
I was like
out.
literally fighting with the doctor by having them remove my IV in me because it was hurting. And I just remember telling the doctor, I was like, hey, can I take this IV out? And the doctor's like, well, we don't really know the results of your testing. And so because we might need to do further testing, I'm advising you not to take that out. And I said, I understand that, but I don't give a fuck. It hurts. Take it out now, or I'm taking it out myself. I swear I was like that. I was like, I don't
You're really
care.
upset.
And then he ended up saying like, fine. And he ended up getting a nurse to come over and take it out. Cause I don't like that shit. I don't like needles. I don't like it.
Sam's never had an overnight stay at the hospital.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to tell somebody to go fuck themselves. Like straight up, like I don't give a fuck. Like if something hurts me or something's bothering me, you're gonna know about it because that's my only way I can find help. If I tell somebody that I'm not okay, like they have to listen to me or face the consequences of my
Which is only gonna hurt you.
my badger. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean,
You taking out the IV.
but that's me knowing like I know the consequences of my decisions. Like
Yeah.
I know potentially I'm gonna get stuck more than once, and to me that's okay. I just don't like something consistently
Staying in you.
inside of my
Yeah.
body. It's just the thought of it just freaks me the fuck out.
It
So
is kind of gross.
yeah, and it was hurting. It was like it felt like weird. I couldn't do anything. My arm was kind of going now. I was like, yo, get this shit out of my fucking arm.
Yeah, it's like a flexible plastic in your vein,
fucking
and it's
disgusting.
really uncomfortable.
Oof, yeah. I don't know how you do it, but
I was in the emergency room, then they transferred me to another hospital, and I was there for about 3 days with a kidney infection. So it was a little, it's bothersome, but I don't know. I just think, okay, it's giving me water, it's giving me medicine, it's hydrating me. I'm just hoping that it's going to be better. The one thing I didn't like, though, in the emergency room, because there was so many, I mean, this was 2021, so still pandemic was pretty crazy. And the emergency room was packed. Like, it felt like building blocks, like Tetris, like blocks. We were just all packed in there. And they didn't have anywhere to put the IV. Usually they put on this rolling thing. And so
When
they
you were in the
said,
emergency
when I was in there, yeah, they said if I need to go to the bathroom, I need to take the bag with me off it was a hanger that didn't roll. I need to take it off, and then I need to go to the bathroom on my own. And that was uncomfortable because one arm has an IV, the other hand is like holding it up, and you're trying to go to the bathroom, you're trying to shut the door, you're trying to like do your thing. It was just so not fun because you're pulling on the IV on accident, like you're not meaning to, but like it's not easy to get around all of these beds, to get around people, to wait. It was a really big mess. It was about one bathroom for about 50 of us. That wasn't fun.
that's the thing about New York City and the hospitals. I can't really attest for Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island, or I can attest maybe a little bit for the Bronx. But Manhattan, the emergency rooms are just bullshit. Like, it's just so ridiculously slow. You're just always, whenever you go into the emergency for any kind of ailment, just like you have to expect 6 to 8 hours to stay. And I guess maybe the older I've gotten, the less like patient I've gotten, where I'm just like, literally I'm waiting for an hour and a half just to find somebody to tell them something, only to wait another hour to like get a response back after they say, okay, let me ask the doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like, so then I end up more recently this year, I just make a hassle. I'm just like, yo, I'm fucking tired. I want to go home. Like, if you weren't there, I just like, and I was literally waiting for discharge papers for like an hour, I'm out.
Yeah.
They can bill me like they do anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm just leaving.
Yeah, when we went for Thamaya just recently, there's a kind of a separate
That was
ER for
quick.
kids, and it was kind of nice but when we got in there was one nurse, and it was completely desolate. I didn't even know that there was more than like 2 people in there that had already been waiting, and it was so weird. There was nobody there. And then finally somebody
Well, it was
came
a Friday
in.
morning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they were just changing shifts too.
Yeah.
And somebody had come in, and I was like, "Is that girl right there the only nurse?" And she's like, "I have no idea. I just got here." And then she started talking to us about the strikes that are happening on Monday. And I was like, "Is that why nobody's here?" Like, I'm trying to be kind about it. I'm like,
I'll
"Can
look that up,
can we
actually."
please, can we please get somebody in here to look at Maya? Because mind you, I'm still thinking this is like a neurological thing. Especially because when Maya came down off her bed, she kind of tripped over herself, which isn't like abnormal for Maya. She's a little bit clumsy, but I didn't know. And so when we first got there, they had told Sam and I that only one parent was allowed. I just
Oh
completely
man,
bypassed that. I
that
didn't even like look at them or acknowledge what they were saying, because I was like, well, unless you pry me off of Maya or away from Maya, I'm not doing anything. So I just
yeah, and
ignored
I
him
don't know.
completely.
I don't know how anybody who has kids feels, but becoming a parent, I've had a huge long nag of especially being a dad, of not being taken as seriously as moms in general. And so when we got there and I was literally holding my daughter in my arms, they had the audacity to, after I brought her down and I went through the metal detector, they said you could only have one parent. I'm just like, yo, straight up, go fuck yourselves, because how dare you tell a child that only one of their mom or dad can be there when this child is scared, this child is nervous, has no idea what's going on, has a crazy bad headache, and for all we know could be something life-threatening. So excuse you, I'll take my chances on whatever you think, because they said it was literally just for like the flu or like COVID.
They said since COVID,
I'm
it's
like,
their
yo,
new protocols.
take your protocols and shove them at your fucking ass, man. I'm going with my child, and her mom is too, you know. I'm sorry. Like, I'll get COVID, it's fine. Like, I'd rather be there for my daughter than to just wait outside for God knows how long. You know, I don't even know if there's even service in there at the time. So, you know.
Yeah, and you told them like,
I
no,
told them, I'm like,
she needs both parents.
yeah, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, and he was like, well, hopefully they'll let them in. I'm like, yeah, hopefully, because I'm going in either way. And I got scared.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, the worst case scenario, he'll like force us to leave. Like, you're gonna have to grab my arm to make me leave, because this is like a really big deal and I'm really freaking out. So we got to the front desk finally after that, and they were asking questions, and I don't like sometimes how they're just so laid back. Like, this woman was pulling apart wristbands and printing things out and writing like things down and texting, and I'm just sitting there thinking this could be serious. So I lied and I said that her temperature was 104 degrees. I don't remember what else I said, but I was like, I'm gonna say whatever, like I'll just amp up these symptoms, because I just really want her to be seen right away. Sometimes I feel a little bad saying that, because I'm like, okay, well, what if there's somebody else like who needed to be seen more? But like, I was like, at the time, it's just really important that we rule out worst case scenario here. And it was really nice because they did pull us back right away, and she did actually get to see a doctor right away, which was good. I was a little frustrated because in the beginning, the nurse literally forgot to even take her temperature. And I've been in the doctor recently about 6 times the past month, just trying to figure out this like mystery thing that's going on with me. So I know, like, literally the nurse comes in, they will take your temperature, they'll take your pulse, and they'll take your blood pressure. Yeah, well, pulse with the blood pressure, but it's the oxygen level, sorry. And when they didn't take her temperature, it's like, I'm not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but what are you doing? Like, you need to be doing this, like, you're missing a step. So just trying to keep myself in check while I was there, trying to have urgency but also not be rude, because I'm not trying to like spoil,
Yeah,
like,
and they're like
my
talking
name.
about how nurses need to get, how there's issues with the nurses and shit. And here I go seeing a nurse that's like, seems like very like nonchalant about her job. I'm just like, yo, like there's a reason why, I don't know. Cause, if I was somebody gonna give nurses more money, why should I give you more money when you're not being attentive to patients, especially my daughter? Like, forgetting that shit, like, I don't know, it's the emergency room is like the only place I feel like you can't not be on your P's and Q's. It's life and death at all times. Like, I don't know, that maybe that's why I never would work in an emergency room, because I could never be like that. I can't be always on point whenever I sign in to work to a certain extent. but I try my best. But I was just looking it up, and said nurses have said chronic understaffing has left them overworked and patients underserved. Yeah. The state has the authority to penalize hospitals that fail to meet state regulated staffing requirements. Well, I mean, Mount Sinai doesn't seem, from my experience from Mount Sinai, it seems like the nurses are completely fine and that they're just lazy, to be honest. Sources briefed on talks, blah, blah, blah.
This is in like an article?
Yeah, it's on Fox 4 New York. Sources briefed on the talks said that there appeared to be some progress at Mount Sinai West on Sunday, but not at the hospital's main campus, which we were at.
Okay.
Where an 18% raise over the 3 years remained on the table. A source said that demands for additional pay enhancements for senior nurses were still in dispute. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's those. I mean, it's like you always want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, but when you're in an emergency, like and you feel like there's like a crisis, like I need you guys to be with me on the same page, because I just need somebody who has like a medical degree. Like, you are a professional, I just need you to come look. But I was very grateful that a doctor did come look right away. And why is because I had said her temperature was 104, but when he came to us, I told him what it really originally was, because I'm also not trying to like lie for like some weird medical diagnosis. I didn't know. I was like, okay, this is what it really was. But he was a little frustrating. I told him like that Maya's demeanor was really off. She was acting really weird. And he's like, well, like, of course, it's because she's sick. And I'm just like, well, yeah, like, no shit, but like, this is different. So everything I said, he just kind of battled with me and acted like it was nothing. It did bother me that he didn't even think like that it wasn't anything neurological. So I had asked him point blank, like, can you maybe take a scan to just make sure, rule out this headache? And he's like, it's probably just one of these many viruses going around, and I don't know. And I was like, but it's a little odd that she's never been screaming of head pain or eye pain before, so I think it's a little weird. And he said, well, we'll just give her some Motrin or he wanted to give her Tylenol and something else, I forgot, ibuprofen maybe, for the headache. And then he left. And then it was interesting because another doctor came in.
The supervising doctor. Yeah,
she came in, and that was...
I forget that's what they do. Like, I think when doctors get out of graduate, they go to the residency, where a lot of them have to work like all the facets of the hospital workings in, I think, 2 years, I think the residency is. And they cycle through. A lot of them have to go to the emergency room and then other places, but there's always like a senior doctor who ends up specializing, I think, in the ER, so they can oversee these kind of junior people and get a double assessment after the junior people see them, which is why she ended up coming, and which is why she seemed a lot more reasonable. Yeah. She seemed a lot more understanding, as well as I assume that she might have been a parent too, so she could kind of see, like, you know, you could feel that, like,
I could feel her urgency, and that she, like, equally
she heard you
being
out,
understanding of
like,
what I was
thinking. She was like, let me just
do all these more
wait
tests.
Here. Yeah, and so we don't just kick you out of here. Yeah. And, like, let's just see.
Because he was like, okay, you guys can leave.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with, like, inexperience on top of, like, maybe not being a parent himself. Yeah. It's not a knock on him, but it's hard when you're dealing with parents, when you're dealing with people who, you know, somebody's very, like, it's not just they're going in for themselves. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like in a assessment of his annual report, I'd say that he might need a little bit more experience with dealing with specifically families and parents, and being able to empathize with their concerns and not seem like he's not caring of what they have to say.
Definitely. So. And she was doing, like, looking in her eyes, doing kind of different tests, and that
giving you specific things of what could be signs of neurological things, and saying that, you know, her neck can move and it's not stiff, which is a big indicator of something potentially neurological. Yeah. So that made me feel better. Mm-hmm. So when he came back, I felt like, all right, whatever, you know.
Yeah. It was interesting because she also gave a different medicine. She's like, oh no, because Maya was panicking. She doesn't like taking medicine. So when she heard she has to take two, that the other doctor, the supervising doctor, said, oh, it's okay. We'll just give you one. We'll just give you Motrin. And it was good. That was fine. She was, like Sam said, more understanding. So that was that was our time there. And they did let us both in. The nurse commented on how there's only supposed to be one parent as well. We didn't, like I said, unless you're going to forcefully take us out, then we're both staying. And we did. We ended up both staying. It's like an interesting situation because sometimes, they're like, oh, give your sweater to mom, or let mom have the water. And Maya just looked at me, and I just looked at her, and I was like, if you want to tell them I'm not your mom, that's cool. Like, that's the look I gave her, and I'm not going to fight you on that. I'm just trying to be here because I'm just trying to support you. And it's like, I knew that if somebody asked me if I'm mom, that I probably would tell the truth. But I was like, we will get to that road when we come to it. She was too sick
at the moment.
Yeah.
She didn't really.
I don't think she really cared at the
mind,
yeah. So that was that, and we got home in record time. We were only there for about, I'd say, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I think it was nice that she went to the child emergency room.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy that they were able to see people and get them out sooner.
Yeah, because there's a lot of sick kids, and the person next to us, it was a little sad. She came for the second time to the emergency room with her son, and they said, she said that he has been getting sick for the entire week, throwing up for the whole week, that he's had fevers, and that only has been eating liquids. And that guy doctor was like, oh yeah, I mean, it's fine. The normal human body can last only on liquids for some time. And in my head, I was like, dude, that's like, oh my, I would be so panicking if Maya was throwing up all week and didn't want to eat any food and only wanted liquids, like, and somebody would just be like, oh yeah, the normal human body, like, ow, I don't know. I'd be like, can I just please see another doctor? Because this is too much.
Yeah, which I can to a certain extent see where he could come from too, because he's like, from my experience too with like people who they're very like
panicky.
I'm just like, yo, it's all right. I see. I know. I see it. Like, but just it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Like so. But like I said, there's a time and place for me with that, and in a professional setting when it's somebody else's like, somebody completely that you don't even know.
Yeah.
To be like, it's all right. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm nitpicking crazily hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like he could have been a little bit more empathetic to everything that was going on.
Yeah, even by just saying like, hey, like, oh, that's like a bummer. Like, let's just run a few more tests, because that's all I wanted. Like,
at least
literally
lie
just
to
tell
me.
me.
Like, look at my face and just be sincere. Like, oh, okay, all right, well, I hear that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, just say like, I understand.
No, that makes sense. Or, that is very concerning.
Yeah, anything.
I'm gonna talk to the senior doctor, and she's gonna come over here in a little bit, and I'm gonna, for now, I'm just gonna give her blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then when the senior doctor comes, explains it, and then he comes back and be like,
yeah,
that it's to sell it. You gotta sell it.
What always makes me feel good when I'm at the doctor is like when they say, oh, let's try to figure out a health plan moving forward. Yes, thank you. That's exactly what I want.
And it's funny because I always thought like too that which is interesting because all my life going to the emergency room, and a lot of the time it ends up being nothing. And this year was the time that it ended up potentially being something else. Because I remember with my foot, and apparently I need like immediate surgery almost. Yeah. It was like literally like this close to getting. I was like, what? Like literally, it felt like a bad dream. Like to me, I was just like, yo, I think it's nothing, but I'm just gonna go in because it hurts, and maybe I need a cast.
Yeah.
Literally for them to mark, incision points for my foot.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is a fucking joke. Are you kidding me right now? Like, it's like the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
It's like the one who, like literally, like somebody saying, oh yeah, no, that really happened. That kid died. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
And you're actually a suspect. Like, what? I was just kidding. Then why would you lie? I'm like, but I didn't. I saw him. I heard him scream though. I mean, but like I didn't think he always screams.
The crazy thing about you in the emergency rooms, which kind of drives me nuts, is they'll be like, okay, yeah, so what's going on? And you're like, yeah, well, like, I'm not really sure. Like, I think my foot is a little numb, and it's like, yeah, just kind of feeling weird. And that's how Maya was too. They were like, oh, like, what's going on? She's like, do you have I heard your head's hurting. Yeah, it's kind of hurting. I'm like, you guys were just, Maya was just freaking out prior for her to just be like, yeah, I think it's hurting. And I'm like, yo, we're in the emergency room. Like, please just tell them, like, what is happening. Not like, yeah, I think it's all right.
Yeah, and like the second time I went with like with my hernia, I thought I had a hernia. Legit, I was like, yo, it's game over. I finally got popped. And then I went in and to the emergency, to the ER, to the urgent care, and he's like, yeah, I feel a little something there, but I think maybe it's your best bet to go in. I'm like, oh fuck. So I ended up going in, and they ended up looking at it and examining it only to actually give me another CT scan and ultrasound in my groin.
Oh yeah.
And I was talking to this Russian lady about Russia.
Oh yeah,
it was really interesting. Yeah, and she was just talking a lot about how Russia was and how it is now, and how you can't say crap about them in Russia, and but it sucks because it's such a wonderful place. It's just run by not necessarily a person who I guess was once a better person in his heyday, and now he's kind of a little bit off the rails. A little bit of chaos in that country, and so she was just expressing her displeasure at it, but ended up after the talk she'd be like, well, everything's fine, and I'm like, nice. But there was a time where I was actually very scared because they were teetering on like whether or not it is, and I was doing all my panic WebMD research when I was looking at possible treatments for hernias, and a lot of them I was reading on horror stories about the mesh, and how after long use of like the mesh in your system, how it could like move and start pulling on your skin and disintegrating, and just really weird things that was not good. And so I was in a panic because I didn't want that surgery. So I'm really happy that everything was okay. Anyways, that was my emergency room story visits.
Our house is just a little chaotic right now with Maya's. I was just thinking earlier, I'm kind of glad we don't live in a 2 or 3 story house, because with the amount of times Maya needs us, she has a bunk bed. So she's primarily not coming down, and it's like, I need water, I need this, I need that, please do this, please do that, which is fine because she's sick, but it's a lot of back and forth. So I am glad we don't have like a 2 or 3 story house.
Yeah. A lot of walking up those stairs.
Yeah. But she is on the mend, and hopefully we'll be feeling up to maybe going to school tomorrow. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. She was asking me what happens if she doesn't feel good at school. I was like, oh, you just go to the nurse. They have nurses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember
it's scary going to the nurse. I mean, you really, it's like, sending yourself to the doctor. It's like, or the urgent care, like, do I feel bad enough to go?
When I was at the nurse's office when I was younger, I always felt like I was lying, because half the time I was, though. I think I just wanted to go home.
Yeah. Me too. Like, I was like, yo, let me really try and pull this off.
I could see you doing that a lot, though.
No, surprisingly, I didn't.
Really?
As much. Yeah, no, it was maybe like a handful of times, like 4 times within my whole time.
I got caught lying one time because I told them that my stomach hurt, and she was saying, like, point to where. I pointed in the wrong spot. She's like, are you sure that's a stomach ache? And then she's like, okay, maybe you should go lay down for a little bit. So I laid down, but when she came to see me, I guess I was on a chair, and I think my feet were up, and I was reading a magazine, just like relaxing. And I could hear her phone conversation to my mom just saying, like, I think she's all right. But I was spoiled, so I'm pretty sure my mom came and got me anyways.
Probably. But that's good, though, everybody.
I think there was a test. I think that's the beginning of me having anxiety over taking tests, but
Trying to get out of a test.
Yes.
Huh.
But it's been a long week.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my goodness.
We were gonna do this yesterday, but sorry, Oreo's crying. Really upset. We were gonna do this yesterday, but this week has been such a long week. Obviously, with Maya, we've been very preoccupied, and but we're still trying to be consistent. We're still trying to get it out. We're still trying to let you know how two adoptees are trying to function in this world, more specifically New York City, and all the trials and tribulations that come with it.
Yeah, like you're just saying, it's kind of been a long week, so I think we're just gonna make this one a little bit short, and next week we will be back. I hope you have a really good week, really good day, really good night, really good morning, and life is good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, take care, and we'll see you next week. Peace.